The drug companies in America killed thousands of people, and they made billions of dollars doing it. According to the CDC, from 1999 to 2017, 702,000 people died of a drug overdose. Of that number, 68% of those died of a prescription or illicit opioid. The opiate epidemic in America is something that everybody has either read about, heard about, or experienced firsthand. Pharmaceutical companies applied targeted, aggressive, and misleading sales tactics to increase the number of opiate prescriptions being written in America. Ultimately, this led to the opiate epidemic and subsequently lined the pockets of pharmaceutical companies and lined the coffins of thousands upon thousands of coffins in America. Today I want to discuss how the aggressive and unethical marketing practices of pharmaceutical companies was the root cause of the opiate epidemic. The first tactic that the pharmaceutical companies employed was downplaying the addictive risks of the opiate medications that they were pushing so liberally. Pharmaceutical companies were assuring doctors that these medications that they were pushing were simply just not addictive, and there was very little risk. Purdue Pharma pled guilty in 2007 in a federal court for illegally marketing Oxycontin as being non-addictive. This was later shown that it wasn't effective for chronic pain. The CDC prescribing guidelines show that it's only effective for active cancer, palliative care, and end-of-life care. Downplaying the risks of addiction didn't stop there. The pharmaceutical companies were just getting started. The most current example is Johnson & Johnson, who was most recently just in court. They were accused of manipulating scientific and academic papers in their favor and pushing assumptions onto doctors that these opiates carried a less than 1% risk of addiction. Less than 1%. They went as far as to skew academic and scientific papers to be able to market these opiates more widely. They showed clear disregard for the integrity and the ethics of the medical community and what they stood for, as well as the well-being and safety of their consumers. This isn't the only way that they paved the way towards the opiate epidemic. Next, I'd like to talk about how the pharmaceutical companies stood to make a lot of money from marketing these opiates more widely. Oxycontin is a very lucrative drug, especially for Purdue Pharma and Abbott Laboratories. In 1996, their sales of Oxycontin were at $50 million. By 2002, they were at $1.6 billion. They continued to well over $30 billion by current, and they continue to rise. The biggest thing, Purdue Pharma and Johnson & Johnson were collaborating. They were influencing federal regulators, politicians, and this is something that no other country in the entire world has ever seen. They were influencing them to be able to distribute and manufacture these drugs more widely and get them out into our communities. Pharmaceutical companies had no reaches and no bounds. They reached into the pocket of every federal regulator and politician that they could to continue to make more money. Pharmaceutical companies would do anything and everything and pay out everything that they could in thousands of dollars in rewards and incentives to get doctors and reps to get people to switch over. Their sales tactics were more than questionable. Purdue Pharma and Abbott Laboratories were sued. And they were sued hard. Their files were unsealed recently, and it was found that they used to do this thing called a dine and dash. They would take a physician out, pay for his takeout, and while they were waiting for the takeout, they would sell him on the benefits of Oxy. They also used to show up at doctors' offices with a sheet cake, and they would spell out in donuts across the top, Oxycontin. And then while the doctor was sitting there stuffing his face, they would spell out all of the benefits of Oxycontin for him and try and sell him on it. It didn't stop there though. Purdue was also guilty of giving their sales reps luxury trips and scratch-off tickets worth $20,000. These are outrageous rewards for trying to get doctors to switch their consumers over to heavy opiates. The pharmaceutical companies held no regard for ethics or integrity in marketing tactics they were trying to use with talking to doctors about opiate medications. Finally, I'd like to talk about the most terrifying proof that pharmaceutical companies are directly responsible for the opiate epidemic. The direct correlation between targeted marketing and the increase in opiate overdose deaths. The numbers don't lie. According to a study by the New York School of Medicine and Boston Medical Center that was completed, it was found that $39.7 million in opioid marketing was distributed to almost 68,000 physicians in 2,208 U.S. counties. Even scarier, it was found that in these counties that received more marketing, for every 3 additional payments made to physicians per 100,000 people, there was a 18% increase in opiate deaths. 18%. Family physicians were specifically targeted more than other physicians. Family physicians were 1 in 5, where other doctors were 1 in 12. Pharmaceutical corporations flooded the country with more than 75 billion opioid pills in just 6 years, despite DEA warnings. Pharmaceutical companies in America applied targeted marketing with disregard for the medical community, the safety of consumers, and this led to the opiate epidemic in America, something that's touched every demographic, culture, and person in one way or another. If you remember one thing from this, it should be that the pharmaceutical companies in America took advantage of the medical community and the patients that they serve, and in turn lined their pockets while lining the coffins of thousands of Americans.